Have you ever felt that silence speaks louder than words, that despite the lack of calls, texts, or closure, something unspoken still lingers? The truth is, she's thinking about you, but her pride, it's louder than her emotions. And today, I want to unpack exactly what that means. Pride is often misunderstood. When we think of pride, we usually imagine arrogance, ego, or a sense of superiority. But in relationships, especially when emotions are raw and love has left wounds behind, pride takes on a completely different shape. It becomes a shield, a mask, a necessary armor for someone who feels deeply but doesn't want to appear weak. When a woman holds back from expressing that she misses you, that she still thinks about you at night, or that your absence lingers in her daily life, it's not always because she's moved on. More often than not, it's because her pride is doing the talking, while her heart sits quietly in the background, screaming truths she refuses to speak out loud. You see, for many women, especially those who have been hurt before, vulnerability can feel like surrender. It's not easy to reach out first, to admit that they still care, to confess that even after all the pain, you still matter to them. In her mind, doing so opens the door to rejection, to being seen as desperate or emotionally dependent. And so, she chooses pride, not because she's cold, but because she's afraid. Afraid that showing her feelings might give you the power to hurt her again. Afraid that if she says she misses you and you don't feel the same, she'll lose whatever dignity she's been trying to preserve. Pride becomes her safety net. She tells herself she's fine, that she's better off without you, that if you cared, you'd reach out first. And while she's telling herself all this, she's also replaying old memories in her head. The way you laughed together, the way your presence made her feel safe, the way you used to look at her like she was the only woman in the world. These thoughts invade her mind during the most unexpected moments, when a certain song plays, when she passes by a place you both used to go, or even when she's scrolling through her phone late at night and sees something that reminds her of you. Still, she won't say a word. Her pride won't let her. Instead, she'll post pictures where she looks her best, hoping you'll see them and wonder about her. She might even pretend to be completely unbothered, talking to new people, laughing louder in public, staying active online, anything to convince herself and the world that she's moved on. But deep down, there's a quiet ache she carries. A lingering question in the back of her mind. Does he still think of me too? Her pride makes her rewrite the narrative. It becomes easier to paint you as someone who didn't care enough, someone who gave up, someone who never really saw her worth. This story comforts her, even if it's not fully true, because believing that you didn't care is less painful than admitting she still does. Pride is her protection, her silent strategy for surviving a heartbreak she hasn't fully recovered from. And sometimes she holds on to it not because she's over you, but because she's not ready to confront how much she still feels. She remembers more than you think, more than she'll ever admit. When a woman truly cared about you, even if things fell apart, even if she acts like she's moved on, the truth is that her mind still holds onto the details you once shared with her. Not because she's obsessed, not because she's stuck in the past, but because those pieces of you became intertwined with how she saw the world for a while. Love has a way of attaching meaning to the smallest things. You might have forgotten the random stories you told her at 2 a.m., the way you liked your coffee, or the weird little habits you didn't even realize you had, but she hasn't. Those things weren't just facts to her. They were fragments of who you were, and when she loved you, those fragments mattered. It's not just the big moments that stay with her. Yes, she remembers the first time you kissed her, or the night you opened up about something deeply personal. But what sticks even deeper are the subtleties. The way your face changed when you talked about your goals, the jokes you made when you were nervous, the exact tone of your voice when you said her name. She can still hear it sometimes in her head, uninvited, like a memory playing in the background while she's trying to focus on something else. It catches her off guard, but it's there, and no matter how far apart you are now, no matter how much time has passed, those details don't just disappear. She might not show it. She might act like she barely remembers your last conversation, or pretend like the emotional weight of what you shared never existed. But deep down, she's held onto the scent of your cologne, the way your laughter filled a room, the stupid inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else but you two. Even now, she sometimes hears a phrase or a song lyric, and it sends her right back to a moment with you. It could be a random Tuesday night when you were just lying next to each other doing nothing, and somehow that memory feels more vivid than some of the major events in her life. You became part of her internal landscape. When she walks into a place you two once visited, she notices. Even if she's with someone else now, there's a comparison that happens in silence. Maybe it's not fair. Maybe it's not even something she wants to do. But it happens because your presence left a mark. And despite her pride, despite her best efforts to move forward and forget, the mind doesn't always follow the heart's instructions. There are moments when she wonders if you remember too. If you still recall the things she told you when she was most vulnerable. If you ever think about the time she trusted you with her dreams, her fears, her laughter, and while you might have thought those conversations were casual, to her they were moments of emotional connection. They mattered. They weren't just words exchanged in passing. They were threads woven into her emotional fabric. That's why she remembers the way you always needed background noise to sleep, or how you hated answering the phone but loved sending voice notes. These details became her silent reminders of what once was. She doesn't bring them up. She won't text you out of nowhere to say, "Hey, I still remember that time we stayed up all night talking about our childhoods." But she thinks about it, often in moments of stillness, when everything else is quiet, and the truth can finally rise to the surface. It's in those moments that she realizes how deeply she still holds on to the version of you that existed when you were hers. Not the version that's out in the world now, maybe different, maybe distant, but the one who opened up to her when no one else could reach you. That's the version she remembers, and no matter how much her pride convinces her to stay silent, those memories have a way of lingering. Because when a woman loves deeply, she doesn't just remember. You become a part of how she remembers herself. Silence is powerful, but it's also strategic. When a woman cares deeply but feels wounded, disappointed, or uncertain, she often chooses silence not because she's done with you, but because she's hoping you won't be done with her. Her silence is rarely empty. It's full of intention, full of emotion, and full of conflict. It becomes her quiet way of asking without words, "Do I still matter to you?" She wants to know if your connection was real enough that you'd fight for it, reach out, or break the tension. And so she pulls back, not to forget you, but to see if you'll come closer. This silence is a test, and many men fail to see it for what it truly is. She may stop calling, texting, or initiating anything, but in her mind, every hour that passes without hearing from you feels like another confirmation that maybe she didn't mean as much to you as she thought. Yet, at the same time, She doesn't want to be the one who chases. She doesn't want to be the one who reaches out first. There's a tug-of-war happening inside her, the part of her that misses you, that wants to talk, that wants to feel that warmth again, is battling the part of her that says, if he cared, he'd show it. And while she's silent on the outside, her inner world is anything but quiet. She checks her phone more than she wants to admit. She waits for a notification, for a message, for a call that never comes, and each time it doesn't, she hardens a little more, not because she's cold, but because she's trying to protect herself from the pain of hoping in vain. Her silence is laced with vulnerability. She's not reaching out because she's scared to look foolish, scared that if she breaks first, and you don't respond the way she needs, it'll destroy whatever fragments of pride she has left. That silence is not indifference, it's self-preservation. You might think she's over it. You might assume she's living her best life without you. But the truth is, in her silence, she's screaming questions you'll never hear. Do you miss me? Do you even think about me? Was it ever real to you? She might look unbothered, but every day that passes without a word chips away at her hope. And still, she won't break the silence, not because she's at peace, but because she's trying to maintain her dignity in a situation where her heart is still very much invested. The irony is, her silence often comes after giving you so much of herself. She opened up, she was present, she gave her energy, her time, her affection. And when things changed, when you started pulling away or stopped showing up the way you used to, she didn't know how to respond. So instead of begging, pleading, or chasing, she retreated. She pulled all that love inward and chose silence as her shield. She told herself, if he wants me, he'll reach out. If he misses me, he'll come back. If it meant something, I won't have to chase it. But what she doesn't say, what she won't let herself express, is how badly she wants that silence to be broken. By you. How much she hopes you're thinking about her too. That maybe, just maybe, your silence is also a test. That you're both caught in this loop of waiting, this emotional standoff where no one wants to be the first to admit they still care. Her pride won't let her speak. Her heart won't let her forget. And so, the silence grows heavier with every passing day. And here's the most painful part. She's hoping you'll fight for her without ever asking you to. That you'll somehow read her mind, feel the depth of what she's going through, and reach out not because she told you to, but because you feel it too. Her silence becomes a signal, but it's so easy to misread. So easy to assume she doesn't care, when in fact she cares so much it hurts. But she refuses to show that pain. She refuses to risk looking like the one who needs you more. So she waits and waits, hoping that you'll break first, that you'll realize what she meant to you, that you'll come back, not because she begged, but because you couldn't stay away. That's why she's quiet. That's why she hasn't said a word, because deep down she wants to know if you'll choose her again without her ever having to ask. She's watching you more than you think, more than she'll ever let on. Just because she's not liking your posts, just because she hasn't commented or messaged you, doesn't mean she's not paying attention. In fact, her silence online can be even louder than any interaction, because it's calculated. It's deliberate. She's studying you in the quiet, keeping tabs from a distance, trying to understand who you are now without her. And even though her pride won't allow her to engage, that doesn't mean she's detached. She's just learned how to observe without exposing herself. Every time you post something, she notices. She might not be the first view on your story, but she'll always make sure she sees it. She might even watch it multiple times, trying to decode what you're really feeling. Was that quote you posted about her? Was that song in the background chosen on purpose? Was that smile genuine, or are you faking it like she is? She won't ask you. She'll never let you know how often she looks. But behind the screen, there's a storm of thoughts and emotions every time you show up in her feed. She's especially tuned into the details. Who you're spending time with, what kind of content you're putting out, whether there's another woman subtly appearing in your background. She notices when you're more active. She picks up on the changes in your patterns. Maybe you used to be quiet, and now you're posting gym selfies or quotes about moving on and staying strong. She'll analyze those words line by line, frame by frame, trying to figure out what they say about where your heart is now. And even if she convinces herself that she doesn't care anymore, she'll still check. It's like an instinct, a habit she can't quite break. Sometimes she'll even go back to old photos, maybe on a late night when she's missing the connection you once had. She'll scroll through memories, sometimes smiling, sometimes feeling a pang of regret or sadness, wondering how things changed so fast. She may even look at the comments you leave on other people's posts, the kind of things you're engaging with. She's trying to find a clue, not necessarily to rekindle things, but to understand, to make sense of the silence between you, to figure out if you've really moved on, or if you're just pretending like she is. And it's not just social media. If you happen to run in similar circles or live in the same area, she might ask about you indirectly. She won't come right out and say it, but her curiosity will find a way through the people you know. She'll check to see if you're still doing the things you used to love, if you're dating someone new, if you've changed. And when she hears something about you, she'll pretend to be unaffected. But inside, she's comparing that version of you to the one she remembers. She's wondering if the man she knew still exists somewhere beneath the surface. The truth is, her pride won't let her show this side. She'll act nonchalant. Maybe she'll even make subtle moves to make you think she's not thinking about you at all. Posting photos with other people, going out more, looking like she's having the time of her life. But all of that is part of the performance. Because while she's busy trying to appear unfazed, she's still quietly checking your profile every day, still refreshing your page, still noticing things that you didn't think twice about when you posted them. This silent observation becomes her way of staying connected without making contact. It's safer this way. She gets to know how you're doing without risking rejection or vulnerability. She gets to feel close to you without having to break her pride or let you know she still cares. And even if she starts seeing someone else, don't be fooled. She may still be watching, because sometimes moving on physically doesn't mean she's moved on emotionally. Her attention, though hidden, is real. And it often carries more emotional weight than any public interaction. Because to silently follow someone's life after they've left yours is to admit, on some level, that part of you is still attached, still curious, still hoping. Even if she never speaks your name out loud again, the time she spends keeping up with your life is proof that you still occupy space in her mind. And that space, however silent, is sacred to her. She just won't show it, she won't admit it, she won't say it, because that would mean letting you know that after all this time, she still hasn't completely let go. She compares every man to you, even if she doesn't realize she's doing it. Even if she tells herself she's moved on, even if she's dating someone new, There's a part of her mind that continues to hold you as the standard, flawed or not. It's not always about idealizing you or wishing she could go back. Sometimes it's more subtle, almost unconscious. But the impact you had on her still echoes in her thoughts, in her expectations, and in the way she perceives other men who come into her life. You were her emotional blueprint for a certain kind of connection, and no matter how things ended, she can't just erase the emotional footprint you left behind. When she's with someone new, it's not about looking for your clone. She might not want someone who looks like you or talks like you, but it's the way you made her feel that lingers, the way you looked at her like she mattered, the way your presence gave her comfort or excitement, the way you understood her moods, even when she didn't say a word. She notices when other men don't see her like you did. She notices when conversations lack the depth you shared. And even if the new man in her life is good to her, maybe even better on paper, there's a part of her that quietly takes notes, realizing that certain aspects of what you gave her just can't be replicated. It doesn't help that memory is selective. Over time, the brain tends to soften the sharp edges of the past. It makes the good moments glow brighter while fading the pain into the background. So even if your relationship had flaws, even if there were reasons you both walked away, what she remembers most are the feelings, the laughs, the late night talks, the spontaneous moments that made her feel alive. And so, when she's talking to someone new, when she's trying to start over, she finds herself mentally reaching for those same emotions. She wants to feel that spark again, and when she doesn't, she wonders why. She wonders if it's him, or if it's because she's still thinking about you. She might not talk about you. In fact, she'll go out of her way not to bring you up, especially around someone new. But in her silence, in the things she avoids saying, you still exist. If the new guy takes her somewhere that reminds her of you, she won't mention it, but she'll notice. If he says something similar to what you used to say, her mind will flash back to you, even if her face stays calm. And if he does something you never did, something thoughtful or kind, she might even feel a sting of regret, thinking, why didn't he ever do that? You're part of the measuring stick now, whether she wants you to be or not. This comparison isn't always a compliment. Sometimes she remembers the ways you fell short, the things you didn't give her, the ways you failed to show up, and even then, you're still the reference point. If someone treats her better than you did, she might feel a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that she's found something healthier, sadness that it took losing you to experience it. You still live in the contrast. You're the shadow behind the spotlight. You're the standard she didn't even know she was using. And what's even more telling is that she notices when people don't see the same potential in her that you did. You may have been one of the few who truly understood her depths, who saw past her surface, who asked the right questions, paid attention to the little things, and made her feel genuinely known. That kind of connection is rare. And once a woman has experienced it, it becomes hard to accept anything less. So, even if someone new is kind, funny, attractive, if he doesn't get her the way you did, she feels it. It creates a quiet sense of emotional distance, one she may not even be able to explain. She might even push other men away without realizing why. They might say all the right things, show genuine interest, make real effort, but if it doesn't feel the way it felt with you, she loses interest. Because the heart remembers how it was once moved. It remembers the rhythm of connection, the way certain conversations flowed, the way certain silences felt safe instead of awkward. She compares tone, presence, warmth, not because she's looking for perfection, but because you once made her believe in a version of intimacy that's hard to forget. This comparison doesn't always mean she wants you back. It doesn't even mean she thinks you were the one. But it does mean that you impacted her more than she's willing to admit. You became part of the filter through which she now experiences others. And as unfair as that might be to the new people she meets, it's not something she can easily turn off. You were a chapter that shaped her understanding of love and connection, and no matter how that chapter ended, its words still echo in the ones she's trying to write now. There are moments when she sits alone, phone in hand, your name right there on the screen, and she hovers her finger over the message bar, thinking about sending something. Just a simple hey, or maybe something more honest like, I've been thinking about you. But every time she gets close to doing it, something pulls her back, her pride, her fear, her uncertainty about how you'd respond. She types out entire messages only to delete them before pressing send. Not because the feelings aren't real, not because she doesn't want to reconnect, but because that internal war inside her is louder than her desire to be vulnerable again. That hesitation, that second guessing, is where so many feelings go to die. She replays old conversations in her head, wondering how things would be now if they had gone differently. She imagines what it would feel like to talk to you again, to hear your voice, to just have one more normal moment like before. But then she reminds herself of how things ended, of the silence, the distance, the words left unsaid or said in anger. She tells herself he should be the one to reach out, and that thought becomes her armor. It gives her a sense of control, even though deep down, what she really wants is for someone to just say what neither of you had the courage to say before. She's stuck in a loop of longing and self-protection, wanting to reach out, but refusing to look weak or desperate. What makes it even harder is the unpredictability of emotions. Some days she feels strong and detached, like she's finally over it. She thinks to herself, I don't need him anymore, and she means it in that moment. But then something random, a song, a scent, a memory, comes out of nowhere and brings everything flooding back. And on those days the urge to reach out is overwhelming. She'll stare at your number, thinking about all the things she never said. She'll wonder what you're doing, who you're with, if you ever think about her. And even if the world sees her as composed and independent, that inner tug-of-war wears her down more than she'll ever admit. Every time she stops herself from reaching out, she tells herself it's the right choice. She repeats the same justifications. If he cared, he would have reached out first. Or I deserve someone who doesn't make me feel like I have to beg for attention. Those thoughts become her safety net, the rational part of her trying to override the emotional pull. But the truth is, those messages she deletes, they mean something. They're not just fleeting impulses. They're bottled-up expressions of love, confusion, regret, and hope. And every time she doesn't send them, those emotions have nowhere to go. They build up. They sit heavy on her chest, and still she remains silent. Sometimes she even writes things out in her notes app or journal instead, trying to get the words out without sending them. It's her way of processing, of giving shape to the feelings she can't speak aloud. She'll write letters she'll never send, paragraphs full of pain and tenderness, just to feel like she's said something, even if it's only to herself. And in those writings you'd see everything she won't tell you, how much she misses you, how often she thinks about what you shared, how hard it is pretending she's indifferent when she's anything but. It's not that she doesn't want closure. She does. But closure often means reopening wounds, admitting feelings she's been trying to suppress, risking rejection or indifference. And that scares her. Because if she opens the door again and you're not there on the other side, or worse, if you respond with coldness or detachment, it would break her in a way she's not ready for. So she convinces herself that silence is safer, that not reaching out protects her from a pain she's not willing to relive. But despite all of that, despite her efforts to move on, there are still nights when she dreams about what could have been. Still days when your name floats into her mind out of nowhere. Still moments when she looks at the screen and your name lingers there for just a second too long. And in that pause, there's so much she wants to say, so much she wishes she could express, but she won't. Not because she doesn't care, but because she cares too much to risk showing it first. Her pride, her fear, her inner voice, they all conspire to keep the message unsent. And so she lives in that emotional limbo, where love exists quietly in the background, unspoken and unresolved, where the message she wants to send remains trapped inside her, waiting for a moment of courage that never quite comes. So she stays silent, not because the feelings are gone, but because vulnerability feels like surrender, and surrender means risking everything. But if you could see beneath her composure, if you could hear the thoughts she silences every day, you'd know she never truly let go. She just chose pride over pain, and in doing so, she loved you in the quietest, most invisible way possible, by thinking of you every day and never letting it show.